I think we're good. Let's go ahead and try to send it then. Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noisera, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer, and this is show number 1616, season 16, episode 16. It's pretty wild when you really think about what's going down right now. We really are talking about, reptilians being mentioned on Fox News, 4 races of extraterrestrials being found during crash retrievals, people like Yuval Noah Harari advocating for the technocracy, saying that the AI would make for AI can be the basis for the worst totalitarian surveillance regime in history. You know how these people operate. We've also got a company out there in Texas called Colossus. The de-extinction company is how they style themselves on Twitter, birthing chickens from artificial eggs, ectogenesis, gametogenesis. We truly are living in really, really crazy times. We've got mad scientists altering our domain to terraform for the so-called aliens. It really is wild what's going down. Some people are saying, oh, it's a distraction. Oh, the first UFO files didn't do anything. I think this next dump that we're going to see might make people think a little bit differently about it. We've got a terrifying report that reveals how extraterrestrials could trigger the political and economic and spiritual chaos that these people are looking forward to usher in the Great Reset, stifling the Great Awakening. We have a very information-packed transmission to get into with you amazing people. It's crazy how fast everything's happening. 1 week it's Hantavirus, next it's Ebola. It's wild. We've also got our president saying that he's at 99% for Israel. He could go run and go be prime minister, and maybe he should, because that's basically what he's doing already, selling out America to these people. I mean, we've got Thomas Massie being swamped by like $30 million. We've got foreign interests publicly buying our politicians. This isn't something that happens in the back shady room anymore. They're throwing down big money to stifle the America First agenda, to really stop all this, man. It's crazy to see our president that was once MAGA just become like a super globalist Zionist shill in a matter of days. And so it's wild knowing that from here on out, you're going to see nothing but chaos, nothing but destabilization, nothing but like the skid rails of society just kind of steamrolling downwards, bro. And that's why they're feverishly working to get this technocratic system in play, because they don't care anymore, right? They're not being covert. They're not being subtle. They're being quote unquote transparent, right? And that allows them to get away with so much. We've got a delivery driver making ominous statements saying that he's been delivering to the ultra wealthy. They're stocking up on water, generators, foods, things like this, not deep underground military bases, people that are using Uber Eats and DoorDash and whatnot. It's really crazy when you think about where we're at, what's going down, and what it all signifies. Truly a fascinating time that we find ourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. And it's just getting wilder, man. I don't really know what else to say other than that. Like there's the intro. Let's get into the updates, and we'll kind of kick the show off from there. Like, it's going to be super heady, and I'm going to try to hit this not necessarily fast and hard, but thematically, man. Like it really is crazy thinking that we have these people trying to pull off transhumanism. We've got AI making copies of itself. We've got the president talking about UFOs. Like it's crazy. We've got them on evidence basically saying that they're going underground. They're preparing for an extinction event. I'm going to be mentioning something later on in the show, Project Nanook, something that took place back in 1940s where they were studying where they were studying remains of animals and extinction evidence, right? Preparing for an extinction. So this stuff that we're talking about, the pole shift, the extinction level event, why these people are going underground, like why there's so many different bases as documented by people like Catherine Austin Fitts, right? So it's really crazy when you see it all going down, knowing that we are surface dwellers. These people are trying to pull off a scam, and they act like we don't know. They act like we don't see. And so it is really wild seeing all this go down. We're going to be talking about psychics. We're going to be talking about multidimensional things, Project Stargate, aliens, reptilians, zero-point energy, right? Population control, depopulation, and how all of this is really going down. Like if you are listening to this like episodically, as this goes down, you're seeing it all go down. Every single week, it's just like increasing and intensifying. The propaganda is getting stronger. We're having more and more attacks. We've just got Iran in the background kind of messing up everything. It's just wild to see not how desensitized people are, but just what's going on with the so-called political system, how unfortunately Chinese President Xi Jinping titled it appropriately. What is it? The Thucydides trap? Oh man, I should have looked this up. I should have looked this up. The Thucydides trap is an international relations theory stating that when a rising power threatens to displace an establishing ruling power, the resulting structural stress makes violent conflict the rule rather than the exception. So basically they're saying that they know that America is a dying empire. They know that we are thrashing out or lashing out. It's not going to be the way that it was. And they've got to figure out how to deal with America as they build this multipolar world order, the BRICS nation, this globalist new world order, right? And they said that they were going to do this with the World Economic Forum a couple of years ago, that they were going to remove the gusto of America. And that's what Donald Trump's supposed to represent, the last gasp of American freedom. And you see what he's doing with it, right? And this is why they're moving forward with this whole globalist initiative. So we're going to be talking about a whole lot of different things with you guys in this episode. I don't know how much else to say other than that. You got CEOs saying that they need to hurry up and roll out robots because we have lower value human capital. It's like this is what they're telling you, like it's happening. The technocracy is here. The globalists have got the mask off. Our president is not even compromised. He's just doing the will of the adversary at this point. Like we are open season, cannon fodder, So yeah, let's just try to jump straight into it. I'll be 1,000% honest with you guys. I made a bit of a promo video for the support. I'll play that later on in the show. I won't do it now because we have actual things that we need to update the audience on, but I'll play it later on in between breaks and things like that. But let me just rush through this and say, if you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/noise, patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support this operation in its current configuration. Earlier this week, let's see if I can pull this up real quick for you guys. Earlier this week, I made like a little, a t-shirt. I made a t-shirt for us unhirable humans, right? Because AI is displacing everything. You can get it on our Patreon at patreon.com/NOIZCE. It's $25. if this starts going pretty well, we'll do a lot more. Clearly, me being in the crypto meme space has just like opened up my mind to so many other random things. Patreon.com/noise is where you can get access to the Unhireable Human t-shirt. I'll be giving a promo code to our exclusive members so they can get a bit of a discount. Become an unhireable human. Just be yourself, right? I think it's pretty funny. And it also brings up the conversation of what do we do with AI. Patreon.com/noise is the best way to get it. I'll put the link for that in the description bar below. I'll put this up here while we continue to update you guys about the operation. Just last year in January, we found out that Blog Talk Radio discontinued their services. So we had to find a backup, Spreaker. Thank God Almighty, because now we were able to broadcast on Google, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, Alexa, Podcast Addict, and every other major podcasting platform. You can get access to over 500 plus episodes that we've done. That includes short mini casts, interviews, times where I've appeared on other different shows, series that I've done, right? The 4-part, 8 hours series that we did with Adam Nix and JC Abbott of the Wayfinder podcast. You can also find that as well on our recovered YouTube channels that we were able to find that we founded back in 2014. It's pretty crazy to think about, man. 12 years we've been up and down fighting with these people, just simply trying to exist. Again, we had a backup for that channel. You can find that in the description bar below, as well as our Odyssey channel. It has content that goes all the way back to season 6 of the operation, 2018. We've been posting in a heck ton of a lot more on TikTok. I'll be 1,000% honest with you guys. We've been posting again on Instagram, but we've been doing a lot more original content over on TikTok. We're having stuff pick up action and traction. It's like weird. I'm used to having stuff like censored over on Instagram. I'm used to it. I'm unfortunately all right with it, right? Because people understand that just comes with the territory. But over on TikTok, I'm able to kind of sit down and do direct original video content and engage with a completely different audience, which is also refreshing when we've been doing it this long. Again, over there on Instagram, you can find the backup telegrams that we have. We have 2 of those as well. That has, old articles, old episodes, old everything, because we've had to survive. We've got a Discord channel. Again, you can find the links for that in the description bar below, as well as the link to our Unhireable Human t-shirt. I've got more designs, more ideas, more stuff coming. It's just because you gotta, at this point, man, like we're talking about the end of an era, the end of like an age, and just like the beginning of a new one. And we just have to have these conversations. Like, I don't know what else to say. Again, you guys can support us through Rumble memberships, YouTube memberships. We've been posting the intros of the show over on our backup channels and our recovered channels, just to kind of reignite communications with our audience and let them know, hey, we're here. We're still fighting. We're still doing it. It's just discombobulated. There's nothing else to say other than that. Again, you guys can support us through Coffee, PayPal, Patreon, Cash App. All that goodness is in the description bar below. You can support yourself by getting some New Leaf Naturals CBD oil, right? That's even more important. New Leaf Naturals CBD oil and storable goods. This is equally as important. You see everything going on with inflation. There was a post that went viral. I meant to talk about it and post it on one of the pages of a receipt from 2006 where somebody was able to get 72 items for, I think, like $161 or something like that. And it's like, I got my and they went to Walmart, and I've got like my Costco receipt from just a couple days ago where I got 42 items and I had to pay like $600, bro. It's effing nuts. So what I'm trying to tell you is get storable goods while you can. And I'm telling that to myself. You don't want to get it in a hyperinflated time period. Get it now at today's taste, with today's rates, at today's pace. We got the supply chain, and this is, again, why it's American made. My Patriot Supply, they can distribute to anywhere here in America. That's what you need. That's why I supported them for years, right? For situations like this. It's weird how these things just become like background noise, but then, when we have situations similar to what we're in, they become quintessential. It's a 360 win. Support yourself, support the operation, and support an American-made company that did not bend the knee during COVID, during all of the madness and the lockdowns. I think that's going to go ahead and do it for us. With that being said, let's go ahead and start the show. We're going to pick it up over here with Sean Stone. talking about the British Empire and how they themselves did deals with the occult for power. He's a Freemason himself, or an ex-Freemason. Let's listen.
John Dee, for example, Enochian magic.
Who is John Dee?
So John Dee was basically like the head of intelligence for Queen Elizabeth, right at the beginning of the British Empire.
Elizabeth I.
Elizabeth I. Yeah, sorry. Go back in time to the 1580s.
Century,
yeah, exactly. The 1580s. And Dee is the original 007. That's why he signed his signature. So Bond is actually inspired from John Dee. And he was into magic. He basically was working these, what they call Enochian magic, because, again, derived probably from the Book of Enoch, but he was communing with these beings, watchers, what he considered angels. But, and he had this, these incantations. And
he was summoning spirits.
He was working with spirits. And the theory is, basically the Shakespearean Tempest play is inspired from John Dee as the wizard in the story is basically John Dee, that he essentially made the deal for the British Empire to become the most powerful empire in the world. And it begins with...
Yes, John Dee is definitely a deep dive. I wish the clip would have gone a little bit longer, but yeah, no, John Dee, the scrying orb, some of the things that he was involved in, witchcraft, the occult, mysticism. There is a deep and rich history of the elite being involved in the occult. Like, there's nothing else to say other than that. They how does the saying go? Millionaires don't study astrology, billionaires do. People don't understand that these entities, whatever form they take, in whatever time they appear, whatever you want to describe the phenomenon as, it coexists with us, and it does have preternatural knowledge, right? And this is something that I need to hurry up and do the video on. I'll try to do it appropriately in the segment. That's why we kind of need to hit stuff hard, is just stuff like the fourth dimension, how there is stuff that exists outside of our normal perception that these people try to get access and information to, right? They want to understand what's going on in the psychoid layer, in the fourth dimension, in the preternatural realm. Whatever is just outside of our existence is of immense value to these people, right? That's why they would do seances. That's why they would commune with the so-called spirits, because the spirits, whether they're daemons or demons or otherworldly beings or what have you, they communicate. They are on missions as well to lead people astray, but they will also flip willing souls. So it is a long standing thing when you get into the elite, the occult, and things like that. In this segment, we're basically going to be talking about how mad scientists are altering our domain to terraform for the quote aliens, and that terraformation could take place literally or even spiritually. Let's proceed forward with the show. Here is a news clip from Man in America talking about how they're spraying aerosolized fungus, how the elites are spraying aerosolized fungus in our skies. More chemtrail type talk. Let's listen.
This is from Reclaim Our Skies, that scientists now want to fight climate change by spraying billions of fungal spores into the atmosphere to make it rain. This sounds like a great idea. So instead of chemicals, they're pushing living fungi as natural cloud seeders. Straight up disgusting and dangerous. So fungal bioaerosols can worsen allergies, lung issues, and mess with entire ecosystems, soil, and water. Right? So the problem is that there's droughts and water shortages, which are blaming on climate change and not blaming it on geoengineering and weather modification. The mad scientist solution is, hey, let's just replace chemical cloud seeding with a massive injection of fungal spores into the atmosphere, right? So how fungi naturally form ice and clouds, and the scientists want to weaponize this for weather modification. And the risks that this could spread fungal diseases, trigger respiratory problems, disrupt soil, agriculture, ecosystems, and water supplies. And the reality is is that it's unpredictable geoengineering experiment with living organisms. And here's the actual documents from this. This is one of the research papers that was presented. It's called Atmospheric Fungal Spore Injection, a promising breakthrough for challenging the impacts of climate change through cloud seeding and weather modification. And look who, Tedros. Actually, that's not the Tedros Adhanom, though. Maybe it's his brother. This is from Reclaim Our Skies, that
That's crazy.
scientists...
That's crazy that another Tedros Ghebreyesus was involved. But here we are talking about not just chemtrails, fungal spores being dropped. I was taking my daughter the other day on a hike with me into the trails, and there was just beautiful skies, beautiful clouds. And then she was like, "Look, Dad, there's streaks in the clouds." I look up, I'm like, "That's not streaks, babe. Those are chemtrails." And it's crazy to talk to a 4-year-old about what chemtrails are versus like what regular clouds are. And now we're having to add in the mix of fungal spores being dropped. We already knew that it was aluminum, barium, strontium, things like that. We played some of the whistleblowers. We played some of the pilots. We're getting exposed. We've talked about it in the past too, about how some of the stuff that they're spraying, how that bioaccumulates in the soil and how that makes things, unsustainable, unlivable. But now it seems like we're talking about actual fungal spores, just injecting it into the sky, seeing what happens. And they said it was right. It would cause all these respiratory issues. But that is the point. The terraformation, the destruction, altering the environment, right? Altering humanity, altering the domain. You see. Speaking of domain, here is Ainsley talking about eminent domain again with another story out there in Georgia. Let's listen.
It's affecting. What is it taking from her? Hey, you guys, it's Ainsley Brown on the fight to save my mom's house from eminent domain. Here I am today with another mother and a homeowner who this is affecting. What is it taking from her? Look behind me. It's taking this entire backyard, the pool and everything. Tell us about it.
Hi, my name is Cynthia, and I am just one of many homeowners who are impacted by Georgia Power's high voltage power lines that are going in to support data centers that are being built all over. We were informed that they were going to come in and take more than half of our property. They are going to demo all of these trees, playhouse, fence, fire pits, the pool, the saw, all of this, including our two neighbors' houses. They're completely demoing theirs. This easement is only going to be 12 feet from our house, 12 feet from our bedroom where we sleep. Now, they did say that they would take the entire house, that they would purchase the entire house. However, that purchase is based off of their own appraised value of the house, which is significantly less than our appraised value for the house, our own private appraisal. So it's not also sufficient enough to replace what we have. We have been told many times by them that they don't have to buy the house. They can only buy the easement, which would just decimate everything, every single thing, the pool, all of this, everything that we have spent 17 years building. It would be a financial devastation because we would never be able to rebuild this, especially at our age. And this is the only home our daughters have ever known. Georgia Power is owned by the Southern Company. The Southern Company is a $105 billion market capital company. They are bigger and just as big as the 4 combined capital markets of the 4 major airlines in the United States. Delta, United, American, and Southwest combine their market capitalization, and that equals the Southern Company, who owns Georgia Power. These data centers that are being built, they're being built for 5 primary companies that equate to $13 trillion in market capitalization. To put that in perspective, you take all the GDPs in the world, and there's only 2 that beat that, and that's the United States and China. Georgia Power is expecting all of the tax citizens and the landowners here to subsidize their project, to subsidize these data centers. And enough is enough.
Thank you. That was amazing. You guys, out here, this is happening, like I said, to 330 properties. There are 21 homes that are being affected by this in Coweta County, Georgia. Not only does Georgia Power not care about our American farmers, they also don't care about our American mothers. This is happening to my mother. This is happening to Cynthia. Wouldn't your grandkids love to have this backyard? Because it's being taken. And on to the point of the easement being only 12 feet from her house, I hope you guys realize that means when she is sleeping in her bedroom, Georgia Power can pull a truck 12 feet from that window and be right there. So what are we going to do, you guys? Are we going to let them take it? Absolutely not. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep sharing these homeowners' stories. Thank you, Cynthia, so much. Thank you, guys. Keep fighting.
All right, we appreciate you, Ainsley. You be safe out there. And it looks like they've got some beautiful B-roll of just this beautiful backyard, man. Nice pool, as you guys heard right there. Nice open backyard with some patio chairs there. They've got some umbrellas too. Like, it just looks serene. And Cynthia said that she was there for 17 years, bro. 17 years. But that's how you know that this is the changing of an age, the changing of a time. You know, she's getting lowballed. She's saying up front that she can't rebuild what these people are trying to offer her. It won't replace it. And she's being steamrolled, like we saw with BlackRock, buying up all these houses, buying up all these power companies. Now you've got these data centers being subsidized, being bought up and pushed by these power companies. 21 homes facing this. And it looks like this is going to be a unifying issue that everybody unilaterally is against these data centers because of what they are doing, the destruction to the environment, the amount of resources it's consuming. Like, this is going to be the next front, right? This is where we're going. This is the building of, this is Project Stargate. This is the building of the Matrix, the technocracy. This is part of the terraformation. All of these different things. And if this isn't bad enough, because now we've got to segue into our next piece of content that ties into land, geoengineering, weather modification, and even human engineering to some degree. Now we've got to worry about, or people have to worry about, this whole Lone Star tick situation. More and more people are finding ticks in their yards. We've got video footage of a helicopter dropping it off. We've got testimony of a man who received one of these bites. So it's like they're either lowball and buy you out, aerosolize your environment with fungal spores, or just steamroll you over. It's pretty crazy. Let's take a look. Here's that video clip of a helicopter dropping these ticks.
What are y'all even doing? No, not you. I have no clue who these people are or what they're doing, but they're on our fucking top field. Who the fuck? What are y'all even doing? No, not you. Literally in our top field. Oh, there they go.
What does this say? They are dropping ticks in the field.
I have no clue who these people are or what they're doing, but they're on our fucking top field.
So you've got people dropping ticks. You've got people being bought out. You've got companies spraying fungal spores. And this is all happening in our environment. This is all happening in the background, right? Because we're so distracted by everything else, we can't see how they're doing just that. We've got mad scientists altering our domain, altering us, destroying us. And you have to think too, these may or may not even be the same pilots that were put out of business because of RFK Jr. You don't think they have either a gripe or a need for a job, you don't think that the people that were put out of business because they got exposed chemtrailing might be wanting to fly things like helicopters and drop radioactive or genetically modified mutant ticks in a random field? They probably think they're not hurting anybody, right? But if enough people begin to adopt that thought process of, well, I'm not hurting anybody, then we have a whole area inundated by these genetically modified ticks modifying us, flying syringes, right? Then we've also got that infamous clip. We're not playing any of this clip in this segment. We should have, but you've also got that Chinese scientist, Matthew Liu, a globalist from the World Economic Forum, saying that is the stated goal, to release these Lone Star ticks that induce this red meat allergy that makes people averse to red meat because it's good for climate change or whatever. Here's somebody that's been a victim of the Lone Star tick. It was a viral post I picked up over there on Twitter. I reposted it over on our Instagram. It's of somebody who now suffers from alpha-gal syndrome because they've been bit by the Lone Star tick.
My question I ask you is, what fucking surface, what purpose do ticks have? Look at my face and my neck. I can't eat red meat anymore. I can't have any animal byproducts in anything. And it's in everything. This is alpha-gal syndrome. This is fucked up, man. Fuck ticks.
His face is all jacked up.
I love to go hiking. This is fucking crazy.
Yeah, man. His face is all jacked up. There's like all kinds of rashes and blemishes on his face. And again, this is alpha-gal syndrome. The viral X post has drawn attention to alpha-gal syndrome, a rare but growing food allergy triggered by certain tick bites. In the clip, a man describes becoming severely allergic to red meat and dairy after a single tick bite, now joining what the CDC estimates could be up to 450,000 affected Americans, with cases steadily rising. And what's even more disturbing is, look, we've got the other clip over here. We've got the other clip of these ticks just being released into the public. And then we've also got another academic paper coming out about the benefits of releasing ticks. Like it's crazy talking about all of this, but ultimately what we're discussing is bioengineering, human engineering, transhumanism, biohacking, forced evolution. I don't want to say the bugs will eat you, but I think you guys get the picture I'm trying to make. These people, these mad scientists, are moving forward with their agendas. Even if we resist them, they will still push them on us. You see, let's watch the clip of these ticks being released. I don't think we have a location for them, but let's go ahead and watch the quick clip, and then we'll talk about this bizarre academic paper. Right.
Weird stuff.
Right. I think I might leave that playing as a B-roll as we proceed forward with the show, just so people see that this is going on. You've got, as if chemtrails were not bad enough, we've got fungal trails, and now we've also got lunatics spreading ticks because of what they describe as a, quote, moral obligation. We're reading real quick from Nicholas Holscher, a focal points. They put this up May 19th. It says that lunatics have taken charge of the asylum. Peer-reviewed paper says that genetically engineering ticks to spread meat allergies is morally obligatory. And this is absolutely absurd. Let's go ahead and play the victims of the alpha-gal syndrome while we're talking about the madness of just infecting people with this directly. A recent peer-reviewed paper titled Beneficial Blood Sucking argues that alpha-gal syndrome, the tick-borne condition that can make people allergic to red meat, should be treated as a form of, quote, moral bioenhancement. That's insane. It says that the authors, West Michigan University professors, argue that because they believe eating meat is morally wrong, intentionally spreading a meat allergy using CRISPR-edited ticks could make people more, quote, virtuous by forcing them away from mammalian meat. The paper states that the, quote, permissibility of their proposal depends on genetically editing Lone Star ticks in 3 ways. 1 is engineering ticks to carry alpha-gal syndrome. 2 is to engineer them to survive and spread more widely. And 3, engineering them so that they do not transmit other diseases such as tularemia and ehrlichiosis. It says that they specifically cite CRISPR-backed tick editing as evidence that this kind of manipulation may be feasible, arguing that if scientists can edit ticks to affect Lyme disease transmission, then similar approaches may be eventually applied to Lone Star ticks. It says that the most disturbing line is their conclusion. They argue that promoting alpha-gal syndrome is, quote, morally obligatory. Like, think about this, man. Like, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. This is what I mean by these mad scientists, these insane asylum patients. These are the people that they recruit into positions of power. This is who they get into the program, and they make it a game and a sport, dehumanizing you, destroying you, engineering you, altering you. It says that according to the authors, this would mean researchers have an obligation to develop the alpha-gal carrying capacity of ticks, and human agents may be obligated to expose others to alpha-gal syndrome, not prevent its spread, and even undermine attempts to, quote, cure it. Alpha-gal syndrome is not a harmless lifestyle nudge. It is a seriously, potentially life-threatening allergic condition that can develop after a tick bite. Symptoms include rash, gastrointestinal distress, and that's what you see this gentleman having over here, and severe allergic reactions, including anaphylaxis. Reactions can occur after exposure to mammalian meat, mammal-derived products, dairy in some cases, and certain medical products. And so, yeah, they think this is a good thing. They think it's a good thing to alter you. It's a good thing to give you red meat because I don't like it. I don't like it, so I should give it to you. And you shouldn't like it either. Okay, and this mindset is what you're going to begin to see throughout everything. This is the scientific dictatorship telling you that we're going to alter you, telling you that we're going to change you. You will eat the bugs. You will be transhuman. You will bend the knee. You won't eat meat. You will lower your carbon footprint. It's absolutely insane. But it doesn't stop there with the human engineering, with the alteration. Here's Sam Altman of OpenAI and ChatGPT saying that he wants to reprogram our cells for an extra 10 years. That's right. One of the founders of OpenAI saying that they want to reprogram our cells as if we're some computer code that they can hack.
Give you the goal is add 10 years of health span.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it doesn't keep you alive any longer at all, but you're healthier for longer.
Mm-hmm.
And the approach that I am personally most excited about is give you some proteins, some RNA or DNA that will express those proteins, whatever it is, but somehow do something to your cells that will partially reprogram them back to a younger state. The goal is add 10 years of health span.
Mm-hmm.
So
crazy.
Maybe it doesn't keep.
Crazy. It's crazy how they're talking about life extension for themselves. They're doing ozone therapy for their blood. They're talking about engineering themselves to be happier, purer. What did Jamie Dimon say just the other week? Hey, your kids are going to live to 100 years old. They're talking about life extension for them. But for us, we can see that they're just slowly poisoning us, slowly killing us, releasing fungal spores, releasing ticks, right? Shortening our lifespan, inducing accelerated aging, causing dementia. It's really crazy because these don't seem like good people to me. Got me crazy, but these don't seem like good or happy people. And we know that they've had the technology for life extension. We know that they've had the cure for cancer. We know that they have like advanced therapeutics and a lot of these different things available to them. It's not available to us though. And you see how after, a gigadeath like event that we saw with the pandemic a couple of years back, now all of a sudden as millions begin to die off and they realize that, fertility rates are plunging. People aren't getting married, right? There's not enough kids being born. All of a sudden they say, oh, well, let's talk life extension, right? Let's try to renew people's cells. Let's try to reprogram people. And as we go into this abyss of biohacking, of human engineering, of transhumanism, I keep having to say this is what happened in the days of Noah. This is why God saw what was going on in the minds of men, the Nephilim, the fallen angels, the hybrids, the pollution of the gene pool, the corruption. And he was like, man, we have to start fresh. And so here we are, through technology, doing the very same thing, right? And you're going to see this throughout the theme of the episode. You're going to see this, just how technology truly is being used as a crowbar for prophetic things and strange and anomalous things, supernatural things, techno-sorcery almost. Let's proceed forward with the show with a little bit more grounded news. We are 6 months from global food shortages because farmers are facing a quadruple whammy crisis. Things like extreme weather, rising costs, supply chain disruptions, and geopolitical instability. This comes from the most important news. It's by Michael Steiner. They put this up May 20th. I'm not going to read it in its entirety. I think you guys understand it. But everything we're eating right now came from 2025. And this whole Strait of Hormuz thing that Donald Trump is doing is screwing up everything for everybody else. This is why I'm telling you, we all need to get storable goods right now. This isn't me trying to do a shameless plug. That's not even shameless at this point. It's like, get some storable goods and send me some. This is me saying the food we're eating right now came from last year. We're doing all of this during planting season. They need to get the strait open because other people are being screwed right now. And the 5D chess is like, oh, well, cool, great. They'll come buy their oil and their supplies from us. Well, that's just going to inflate it for us Americans who are already being priced out. So it's crazy looking at just the impending doom and the recovery that's just being destroyed right now for no real reason. We still, is it for regime change? Is it because Israel said do it? Is it because we want control of the Strait of Hormuz? We don't even have a clear understanding as to why we're still going through all this hardship with the Strait of Hormuz. Let's read a little bit of this article so we can proceed forward. It says that we have never faced anything quite like this. Diesel fuel and fertilizer have become far more expensive as a result of the conflict in the Middle East, and extreme weather is playing a havoc with the crops all over the planet. Here in the United States, we just experienced the driest first 3 months of a year in recorded history. Now, this isn't an exaggeration. Now, quote, Super El Nino is coming, and that means that drought conditions are going to get even worse in many areas of the world. The Super El Nino of 1877 through 1878 resulted in widespread droughts that killed more than 50 million people. And now we are being warned that the upcoming Super El Nino could be even worse. Our farmers have never been faced with a, quote, perfect storm of this magnitude, and global food production is going to be way down in the months ahead. It says that the UN's Food Agriculture Organization is publicly warning that a severe global food crisis could strike about 6 months from now if something really dramatic does not happen. And we've actually got an article about that, talking about it coming right up. I don't know what national governments around the world are supposed to do. They can't create fertilizer out of thin air. Thanks to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz by Iran, millions of farmers all over the world, or all over the northern hemisphere, didn't get the fertilizer that they needed for the spring planting season. UNDP Administrator Alexander De Croo is telling us that as a result, quote, many places in the world will have problems of food shortage once the harvest season arrives. It says even if fertilizer is available, many farmers simply can't afford it. In fact, one recent survey discovered that 70% of U.S. farmers could not afford to buy all the fertilizer that they needed for the spring planting season because it had become so expensive. Meanwhile, diesel has become painfully expensive as well. Let me pause right there, because we started this segment off talking about how they're spraying fungal spores over parts of our farmland in a time frame where people are not getting fertilizer. So by the time we get fertilizer, how much of that fungal spore has been sprayed on precious farmland? I'm just wondering. That's what I'm saying. This is a perfect storm. This is just like a cocktail of chaos being brewed, a witch's brew of destruction. It says virtually all farm equipment runs on diesel. And as I write this, the article, the average price of a gallon of diesel in the U.S. is starting at about $5.50. But in California, the average price of gas of a gallon of diesel has reached nearly $7.50. We've actually got a video clip of Donald Trump later on in the show saying that, oh, this is peanuts. This is peanuts. He's trying to downplay gas prices like, oh, don't worry about that. We just cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And what did we hear just last week? A reporter asked him, are you concerned about Americans' financial situation? He's like, I'm not concerned about, I don't think about anybody's money. No, I just know we cannot make sure Iran has a nuclear weapon. You may not care about what's happening in California, but you should care because California produces more fruit and vegetables than any other state by a wide margin. It says that drought is another problem the U.S. farmers are dealing with. It says in West Texas, the cracks in the ground caused by endless drought are big enough to swallow an entire human hand. Coming into this year, the southwestern portion of the nation was experiencing the worst multi-year drought in at least 1,200 years. And then the first 3 months of this year were the driest first 3 months of the year for the entire country ever recorded. It says, as a result, it is being projected that the winter wheat harvest will be a disaster. And it just goes on and on. Again, this is just me trying to start the show and to say, look at what's going on in the background. Look at them spraying our environment. Look at them jacking with people, engineering people's biology. And now we're talking about, again, the whiplash effect, the extreme weather, the rising costs, the supply chain disruptions, what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz. We've got more information regarding that, but it's just like we're witnessing it. The fracturing, the discombobulation, the destabilization. And as all this is going down, right? I hope it's beginning to make sense now why a couple episodes ago, a couple months ago, why we continually, mention it. The elites are just getting prepared. They see where this is going. I know people are expecting a 5D chess type situation. Yeah, you really should. That's more of that hopium talking. Other people don't have hopium. Other people have dollar bills and they're prepping. I'm going to play for you guys real quick this video clip of a delivery driver saying that the ultra wealthy are stocking up on water, generators, and non-perishable goods, and it looks like they're prepping. They see the writing on the wall. Like I said, everything that Donald Trump is doing right now will affect us next year. The food you're eating was planted and harvested last year. What do the elites know, or the ultra wealthy know, that we don't?
I have noticed a very strange behavior among the rich folk. I've been delivering since 2014, and I have never seen the rich folk prepping like they've been doing the last 2 months. They have buying a lot of them. I have been buying dry foods, buying generators. A lot of them have been trying getting like dry foods, rice, like beans, like all the stuff I've been delivering. And when I delivered, they're like, "Oh, put in a garage." One of this other guy, he has his whole entire garage built out. And when I asked him why is he doing it, he's just like, my gut feeling. So I don't know what they're being prepped for. Why are they buying so many of the emergencies? Like, but they're buying a lot. They're prepping, and I deliver to like people who are earning million plus. Some of these houses like $2-3 million, and they're prepping for something, not to leave or go anywhere, just like to stay in. They're prepping. That's highly suspicious. What do you guys think?
You think it's more of that fortress community stuff? This is what we ended last year, one of our last episodes that we had before our abrupt end of season 15. We talked about it. Fortress communities, specifically down there in Florida, where you have people just like getting bricked up, getting security, getting gates, getting perishable goods, storable goods, waters, generators, private security, fences, moats. Like, it's on. They're willing to shoot you when this stuff goes down. This is why we covered Mark Zuckerberg's deep underground military base. Why we covered, Elon Musk, why he's building out these different cities. What's going on with the Denver International Airport, right? That's a whole completely different like rabbit hole. Whenever you start talking about, the pole shift, ecological changes, the epochs that we're going into, the pole shift, extinction level event type stuff, these people have been planning. And we played a clip a couple of weeks ago where another billionaire insider was talking about, just the different types, how the millionaires are preparing the way they can, the billionaires are preparing the way they can, and then just like the secret ultra wealthy, like they've just begun to sequester and remove themselves from society, right? Like there's levels to this. There are some people who can't get down to the bunker that didn't get access. There are some people that are going to have to be up here with us when this stuff goes down, right? And so they're having to train, and you have to think about it. They're freaking out too. They're trying to figure out how do they stay on top when this does go down? How do they preserve their wealth? You see? And so as things get progressively crazier, you're going to have more people kind of switching into this survivalist, neo-feudalist mindset. And I think that ties into too, just like the breakdown of law and order, the old playbook not working anymore, the erosion of so-called rights, and now we're going to have like these global rights that come out of nowhere, right? Like it's a whole societal shift when all that stuff starts popping off and going down. You see. Let's proceed forward with the show. Oh man, they're hitting me with this. They're trying to hit me with the paywall, but we'll jump around it. We play Mario. UN warns that the Strait of Hormuz disruption could lead to global food price crisis. It says the UN Food and Agriculture Organization has warned that the disruption in the Strait of Hormuz is the beginning of a, quote, systemic agri-food shock that could drive up food prices worldwide. It says that the agency said in a May 20th report that unless governments and farmers act quickly to stabilize fertilizer supplies, shipping routes, and agricultural production, a global food price crisis may emerge within 6 to 12 months. Again, this just echoes what we were just going over. Multiple people watching the prices just skyrocket. And again, we had an article just last week talking about that as well. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. We're being priced out. Groceries prices surge at the fastest pace in nearly 4 years. Yeah, that was what we covered for you guys just last week. But jumping back over here to the topic of the wealthy and the elites doing very, very strange things. Here's Donald Trump kind of letting the cat out the bag, talking about the ballroom and how it's a shield for the military industrial complex that's operating at least 6 stories beneath it.
You might want to take a look at the complexity. These are all different rooms down here. They're building a hospital. It's a military hospital. They're building all sorts of research facilities, also meeting rooms and rooms that go hand in hand for the military using the ballroom. And the ballroom is really a shield and protecting all of the things that are built here. This goes, as you see, it's already up to the ground. This goes down very deep. You get a better view right over here. This is down, and because we've already done these floors, but these are already down 2 floors. It's down about 6 stories deep. That's big stuff. Normally, when you build a ballroom, you build it flat. You just build a ballroom. It would have been built. The complexity of this, and again, it's all knit. It's all knit together between the drone proofing, the missile proofing we have, and the drone capacity upstairs. We can have all sorts of military up. Whether I hate to use the word snipers, but we have great sniper capacity. It's built for our snipers, not the enemy snipers, our snipers. And because of the height, we get a very clear view of everything all over Washington. Yeah, Mr. President, you mentioned it. You might want to take a look at the complexity. These are all different rooms down here. They're building a
hospital, a research facility, a meeting room, and it's a shield. Like, he cannot help himself. And again, this is something we've been tracking. This is something he's been pushing since his most recent assassination attempt. This is the ballroom, 6 stories deep. I'm sure it goes much deeper, much deeper. Again, we're in a time frame where stuff on the surface is going to start popping off. Could be EMPs, could be solar flares, could be extreme weather, could be floods. They have earthquake weapons. We know about HARP. Their chemtrails got exposed, so they have to alter our domain in a different way. And what are they doing? They're going underground. They're going into bunker mode. They're going into the mountains. They're getting prepared for whatever's coming, whether it's the pole shift, whether it's societal collapse, whether or not it's artificial general intelligence, whether or not it's the return of Jesus Christ, right? These people are going into bunker mode. And you have to think about what that means too. And when they reach a point to where they're just, not caring about the system, not caring about things on the surface world, to where they've just given up. And that's where the robots come in. It gives us the semblance of governance, of organization, of society. But the real movers and shakers, they're like, no, I know where this is going. And that's why we're seeing so much insider trading, robbing, stealing, left and right, accumulation of resources, because it's just like, it's not going to happen anymore. And I hate to sound like doom and gloom, but this is me saying that we're seeing the end of an age. We're seeing the end of the old world order, the beginning of the new world order, the introduction of the technocracy. And like, it's wild to think about how much stuff is unfolding as quick as it is, and why they are feverishly working to get this in place. Like, that's ultimately what we're talking about here. That's ultimately what we are discussing here. Just as a little quick caveat to carry on. In 1946, the U.S. Army conducted a classified mission led by the 46th 72nd Reconnaissance Squadron, known as Project Nanook, in the Arctic and Alaska, and what they found shocked them to the core. They found massive graveyards with mixed deposits of marine and land animals that died at the same time at higher elevations. Muck deposits in Alaska and Siberia, where Ice Age animals' remains, trees, soils, and debris were all mixed together, and massive rocks and ice-related debris located thousands of miles away from their original locations. They all indicate a large geophysical event. They also found animals and plants that live in tropical climates, meaning that Alaska was once in another region. All of this evidence is supported by the geophysical event theory, and the findings were classified. It says that today, mainstream science offers alternative explanations for this phenomena, while the elites are building doomsday bunkers. They're lying to you. And again, I say this because we know that they're creating these bunkers. We know they're getting prepared for something. Catherine Austin Fitz has talked about it as well. This is one of the reasons that she's found these bunkers. There's over 170 different deep underground military bunkers, deep underground military bases throughout America. We've got Donald Trump talking about building bases. We played for you guys countless times, of caves being turned into bases, people just buying old containers and burying them. Like the bunker business is a big thing. Fallout shelters is a big thing because people are wanting to survive either geopolitical events, a geophysical event, what have you. But humanity goes through these epochs. We go through these eras and we go through these cycles. And it doesn't matter about your politics, right? That's ultimately like what it boils down to. And so as Donald Trump sits there and shows you the White House ballroom 6 stories deep, this should concern you. This should concern you. You see, because they've been studying in anticipation of this geophysical event. What did I say earlier? Millionaires don't study astrology. Billionaires do. They're studying the stars. They're studying the charts. They have to keep things going for us. They have to tell us one thing, right? But for the people that are paying attention, there's a whole other narrative being told. Here's Alex Jones with a breakdown talking about these mad scientists and how they're trying to exterminate us all.
Technological, you have a scientific, technological elite that Eisenhower warned of that controls the military-industrial complex, that are eugenicists that think we're all unwashed animals, and across the board wants to dumb us down, poison us, and then euthanize us. And that's the official policy going out of beta in the year 2020 with Agenda 21 into Agenda 2030, and is a stated planetary depopulation operation where they say there will be no Homo sapiens in the year 2047 that aren't cyborg. These are official plans. Go read it. And you go, that sounds crazy. Well, they mean it, and they're doing it. Look at this headline, Politico. Silicon Valley wants to put a chip in your brain. Why the future doesn't need us. So when I tell you this stuff, and I always show you the documents, the proof, and you see it all over the news now. So in the old days, it was hard to get the information out. You had to have like Club of Rome documents and leak things and stuff. But now it's just out in the open. At the end of the day, the globalists don't care if you're Asian or if you're Anglo or if you're Jewish or if you're a Muslim. They're spraying chemtrails in the sky with aluminum dioxide, barium salts on they're killing the plants, the animals, brain damaging the humans. They're releasing ticks loaded up with alpha-gal. They're releasing mosquitoes loaded up with all sorts of Trojan horse weapons as flying syringes. They're pushing poison food on all of us. They're pushing poison shots on everybody. This is a universal attack on humanity. So that's what this is. Okay, you want to know the bottom of the rat hole? It's mad scientists playing God, poisoning you through the food, the water, the air, and the culture. And they're making their move, and they got a breakaway civilization, and they think they're gods, and we're all a bunch of dumb animals. We aren't funded by foreign governments. We're funded by you, and I sell you great products.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell. That's basically what we're dealing with. Mad scientists that are altering our domain to terraform for their, quote, alien gods that they worship. And it seems like something out of science fiction, but no, that's what we're dealing with. Eugenicists, transhumanists, globalists that think that to these people, controlling the earth is saving the earth. They want to usher in the collapse of society so they can take things over, so they can come out on top. They want to be the guardians of the earth. And they are willing to kill as many of us as possible to make that happen. Let's look at this article right here. Check this out. Like Alex said, Silicon Valley wants to put a chip in your brain. It's a battle over the future of the human species. This got put out over there at Drudge Report May 15th. It's a pretty lengthy article, but it talks about a TED Talk where they're basically saying, and took place in Vancouver last month by Dr. Scott Phoenix, where they're basically advocating for merging humanity with technology, the singularity, putting the chip in your brain, becoming a wirehead, a threadhead. And what's so crazy, and I've got to do a video about this, I've been saying it for almost like a week now, I will figure out a way to do this because it ties into what we're going to be discussing next, opening up portals, the psychoid layer, our brains, our minds, and things like that, and how they're using us. Remember, they're the gateway process. They're using us to bring forth these entities and to bring forth these energies into this realm. Well, they want to hack your brain. Again, this ties into what I was saying beforehand, using the fourth dimension, accessing the psychoid layer, getting into these different dimensions, so to speak. They want to hijack you. They want to control. They want access to that preternatural knowledge. It says that someone you work with will get it first. And you'll hold out for a while, the way you did with the smartphone, but eventually you won't, said Phoenix, dressed in all black with a tiny mic attached to his ear. Quote, the advantages of integration will be hard to compete with. Put bluntly, in his view, quote, we're on the cusp of the next major transition, the merger of humans and AI. This perspective, as outlandish as it may sound, is commonly held in Silicon Valley. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman mused way back in 2017 that a, quote, merger is probably our best case scenario for survival after the emergence of superhuman AI. Tech billionaire Peter Thiel is a vocal advocate of, quote, transhumanism. There is a good reason to be skeptical about the imminent evolution of the species. The technology to perform this kind of merger, to radically change what it really means to be human, remains in its earliest stages. Even setting aside the uncertain future of AI, the so-called implantable brain-computer interface is still quite nascent. And yet there are huge sums of money already sloshing around the technology with more to come. The BCI market, currently sitting at $350 million, is expected to reach $1.2 billion by 2035. It says that doesn't include in companies like the one Phoenix founded, named Vicarious, which sought to use core principles in the brain to build AI that could act like humans. It says that Phoenix, who is now a venture capitalist and sold his company to Alphabet in 2022, after it was funded to the tune of $250 million by investors like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, the broader neurological technology market is projected to expand to $52 billion by 2032. You see, so it's not even about the future of the species, it's about the future of people's bank accounts. They are profit driven to get this tech inside of you. And I thoroughly believe that we already have people that are on tech. I didn't get around to putting it into this week's rotation, but there's a clip floating around right now of Elon Musk talking about the future of medicine being technology. And we've done episodes in the past, little mini casts, talking about just that, digital pills. How you'll just have to take these little pills that have nanotech inside of you. They'll find the problem, they'll work it out, and then you'll either poop it out or it'll stay there and dissolve. This is stuff that they want to do. And then don't get me even started with the COVID jabs and everything else. But staying on over here, the battle for the human species, your brain, your mind, why they want to get the chip in you, why that's so important. Not only for biblical reasons, right? Security reasons, personal reasons, spiritual reasons. Like, this is a big thing. Whether it's a chip in the brain, a chip in the hand, some type of cybernetic augmentation, it's a big thing. Spiritually, I look at it as them trying to lock us into this dimension, lock us into this frequency, lock us into this realm, because right now we can still be redeemed. Right now we can still get the downloads. Right now we're not hooked up to the grid. And once you start having people that are hooked up to the grid, willingly abdicating their humanity, you have to be very cautious about where that's going to go, because we're already seeing like NPCs. You see, what about telepathic NPCs? This ties into like the planned future, the segment we'll be getting into next. Telepathic NPCs, the hive mind, the social credit score, people literally being augmented by this not even augmented, borderline possessed by this super intelligent AI. that just wants to get a chip in you. Let's watch this quick video talking about quantum physics and consciousness and how scientists are beginning to believe that our brains actually create reality.
What if your consciousness gives rise to space, time, and matter, not the other way around? A controversial 2025 paper suggests that the mind may precede the material world. In other words, consciousness is a fundamental field from which reality takes shape. Aside from reshaping what we know about our own consciousness, this theory could completely change our understanding of major events like the Big Bang. According to the theory, the Big Bang may not mark the moment that the universe erupted into existence. Instead, it could be when a universal field of awareness turned a formless state into the dense world that we observe every day. Now, this isn't the first time that physicists have made the wild argument that the mind comes first, but that doesn't mean that the theory goes without criticism. What if your consciousness gives rise to space, time, and matter, not the other way around?
I would believe this. It says that developments in quantum physics and consciousness research are prompting scientists to reconsider the fundamental nature of reality. Several recent discussions highlight theories proposing that consciousness or conscious experience may play a far more fundamental role than previously thought, potentially generating space-time itself. Popular mechanics covered a provocative theory suggesting that consciousness could be foundational. This is the full piece explores a 2025 paper by Uppsala University professor of material sciences, Maria Strom, published in AIP Advances. Her model proposes that consciousness as a universal omnipresent awareness serving as a foundational field from which physical reality emerges. This is, Strom argues that, quote, in the beginning, it was consciousness, not individual minds, but something omnipresent, aware itself. The universe, space, time, matter, stars, galaxies, our own sun, and distant worlds like Neptune came later. Or rather, according to this controversial new theory, it came from the underlying form of awareness. It says this theory reinterprets the Big Bang not as the origin of matter, but as the differentiation of a unified field of awareness into the structured world of space, time, and matter. Yes, that's right. Researchers, they're beginning to theorize that our brains are constructing the universe. And this is the type of stuff that I'm so geeked up on. Because what I'm trying to say in so many different ways is this is why they have somebody like Donald Trump in the position he is they're focusing on him and they're using him as a polarizing device through which they can create all of these other external systems that they had in the background for. So it's not even about that. It's not even about Donald Trump in the universe. It's about them needing us to talk about the world that we're in, to give it terminology, to give it reality, to give it existence and purpose here. Like if everything is just a collection of atoms, of waves, of vibrations and frequencies, thoughts, and this gets into the double slit experiment, this gets into what we'll be talking about very shortly in the segment with CERN, right? If everything is observation based, it's energy, as David Icke says, energy goes where attention flows, or energy flows where attention goes. If everything is that, it's consciousness, it's awareness, we're creating everything. And this ties into the so-called aliens and why they're doing everything they're doing and the way they're doing it. They need us talking about it, giving it terms, defining it, explaining it, conceptualizing it, giving it the dimensionality and the forms that we need. They want us to create alien tulpas. Does that make sense? Tibetan thought forms, right? That if you think about something enough, if you talk about something enough, it will manifest from this consciousness field, from the psychoid layer, you see. So I thoroughly believe that. You know, I actually do deeply believe that our brains are constructing the universe. And I think that we are master builders. And I think that we were able to pull things from the ether into this realm 1000%. Like words are spells, symbols are magic, right? But we've been defanged, we've been demystified, we've been put to sleep by greater magic. But now, as we begin to have an awareness and we awaken from the slumber, that's what the greater awakening is. And this ties into what we were just talking about with them trying to put a chip in your brain. They want to control their greater awakening. We are beginning to realize that we are master builders, that our brains do construct this reality, and they want us to create their reality. We're waking up from we're waking up from, news, politics, this dead and dying system. We're trying to create parallel economies, brand new systems, brand new modalities, brand new thoughts. This threatens this centralized system. And so what do? They have to create something that competes with the awesome and powerful mind of the human whenever it's set free. That's AI. And so this is the eternal battle that I think everybody's, feeling right now. Let me read a little bit more into this article right here, and then we'll move forward with the show and begin to close out this segment. It says, see, like here again, your brain is the architect of the universe, and your consciousness shapes reality. It says that new scientists described a broader shift, saying that, quote, the idea that everything can exist, that exists can be built from the bottom up, has long held sway among physicists. Now a new kind of science is under construction that centers conscious experience and might unravel the universe's biggest mysteries. It says the University of Rochester physicist Adam Frank and collaborators argue that conscious experience is what is fundamentally real. Quote, I have no access to the world except through experience, and describes the physicalist world as a, quote, unexperienced and unexperienceable world. It is a very useful abstraction, but one that only comes after the actual world that scientists live and practice in. These discussions build on earlier explorations of consciousness potentially operating at the quantum level. Okay, this is where it gets important. This is what we were talking about just the other week with the quantum heartbeat. Research has examined whether the brain's microtubules could harbor a, quote, quantum heartbeat tied to awareness. Scientists are using terahertz waves to probe subtle vibrations in these cellular structures non-invasively. It says that a 2024 University of Maryland study showed that stabilizing microtubules in rats delayed the loss of consciousness under anesthesia, referring to the Penrose-Hameroff theory. It says in parallel, Oxford physicist Vlatko Vedrol has offered a perspective grounded in the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. He posits that alternate versions of individuals may exist across parallel universes, with every tiny quantum event potentially branching into different paths. Okay, so that's where it gets a little deep. That's where it gets a little deep, and I don't want to spend too much time there on it. I think we got what we need for the majority of this. This is me saying that we are in a crazy time period. We're moving into a new age. These people are losing grip. They're losing control. They're doing everything they can to make this system seem like that's all there is, whenever we know there's something different, whenever we know there's something more. I wholeheartedly believe that our brains construct this reality, and that's why they need as many of us talking, chirping, thinking, theorizing, materializing, manifesting. They need us to build this world. It's like I should have made a post about this the other week. Didn't Jasmine Crockett talk about being some of the 532 people that actually control this world? There's billions of people over here in this world. There's like a handful of people that are actually running this thing. But think about the psychic power of being able to concentrate that, to make that real for somebody else. And now that's almost at the disposal of thousands with things like AI and robotics whenever it gets to that point, but they don't want that. You see, they want to keep that power concentrated. So we'll talk more about that later on the show. I just wanted to really, really crystallize this point that our brains do create this reality. They're trying to hijack the psychoid layer, the fourth dimension, with this technology, because there is preternatural information in those higher dimensions that they want to get access to. You see. Let's go ahead and play this quick clip of Dr. Julia Mossbridge sitting down with Julian Dorey talking about how radiation gave her psychic powers.
You and two.
But I know that I would be an interesting person to study because, my mother was obviously exposed to radiation.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, though, because now I'm going back to the initial story you told me. Your parents worked in this.
Yeah.
You also said something. You and two of your siblings were sent away.
No, that's my mother. My mother. I only have one
yeah,
sibling.
no, I'm sorry. Your mother's parents worked with uranium
Yeah.
first,
Mhm.
right? Your mother and the two siblings are sent away when they do that, so they don't have
For
access to
6
it.
months. We
Right.
don't know why.
But then your mom ended up working with uranium herself,
No, my mom ends up being recruited to go to University of Chicago on a full ride scholarship.
and they watch her there.
And she ends up studying non-speaking autistic students.
But okay, yeah, I was trying to get the
Just
story
saying.
straight, but the point that I was thinking in my head is actually the same.
Yeah.
Now that we have it
Yeah.
rehashed right there, she was never exposed to it, and you were
she
never.
was at home. So it's like the deal is
But if she was
they're
sent
a
away,
poor, well, no, she's sent away after this. So they're a poor
Okay.
family. They're living in Denver. All of the people who work at the plant, her father was actually working with uranium. Her mother was probably a secretary or something.
okay,
So her father's probably the chief one who comes home with uranium dust on his boots. So as she's growing up, before she reaches the age of
Understood.
7, she's exposed.
so then if she's exposed to it, just exposed to it, it's not like her boots then have uranium on it when she has you.
Yeah.
How are you exposed to it?
Just that I think the idea is not that I was exposed to it. So
You're the
there's,
offshoot of it.
if you were going to study the effects of uranium on people, you would study the next generation. And then I wonder about the drink.
Whoa.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's clocking now. I had to put it together.
So
but
as a cognitive neuroscientist and thinking about human exceptional performance, one of the effects of radiation, whether it's ionizing radiation like uranium or plutonium, or non-ionizing radiation like EMF that we get from our devices all the time, one of the effects of radiation might be extended capacities, like psychic abilities, right? And so I think they were looking for both positive and negative outcomes of exposure to radiation, both within a person's lifetime and, in the womb, right? So a
That's pretty
woman's
crazy.
eggs are around even when she's a kid,
Mm.
right? So if a woman is exposed to radiation as a kid, that can cause mutations in the eggs that later manifest themselves when she has children.
That makes sense. So you have this dream,
So I have this dream to tell
and
me to
it
call the
tracks
office.
right back to an area, to a number that would correlate with the part of the government that literally studies that stuff.
This
And
is
then-
before I was thinking of that, but once I
Fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating, but it confirms a couple of the thoughts I've had in the past, and a couple of them I've shared over here on the show, that radiation does affect psychic powers, that they knew there was going to be an entire generation of people that had these psychic powers being born, and they had to do something to stifle those psychic powers and hijack, again, your etheric field, your aura, right? I've said this before on the show, that's why we have these digital minders, these phones. They're much more advanced than we give them credit for. That you have like an aura, that you have an etheric field, that you have like a psychic frequency that they can lock into, right? And that they can also pick up on your thoughts as well. And they want to take those over. They want to hijack that. There was actually a bill that came out a couple of years ago talking about neural rights because of how advanced the technology is becoming. But staying focused simply on this, and I'm glad that she had mentioned the nonverbal autistic children, because just the other day we were talking about how there are studies showing that when you get some of these nonverbal autistic kids together, they actually develop a form of telepathy. And so we're talking again about the psychoenergetic potentiality of man, what she calls the exceptional human capabilities, the psychic abilities. It's all very real, all very, very real. And this is what we're living in. And this system is doing its mother-loving best to hold on to power as it's dying. It knew that these people were going to be born with these abilities. It knew that it was going to lose grip on things. It knew that it couldn't control things. It was going to get out of its hands. And so, like the Thucydides trap that we had covered earlier, it's thrashing and it's doing everything it can to flip the game over because it doesn't want to play anymore. It realizes it's lost. And we still have to make our moves. We still have to wake up to these capabilities that we have, these different dimensions that we operate in, these modalities of thought, right? But as we have these greater awakenings taking place, we're going to have, stronger AI, more destruction, more of a push to do away with the human spirit because it's too messy. You see, they want something that's more orderly, something that's more organized. But that is very, very interesting, again, because that talks about consciousness, our bodies being receivers, transceivers, how we receive information, how we transmit information. Very, very fascinating stuff. Man, if I had the time, I would really get into all of this and more. Moving forward and still staying on the assault on our minds and the assault on human biology, bombshell files reveal that global elites developed the power to remotely control human cells. Shocking files have revealed that the global elites have explored remote human cell control. This comes from Nima Harris of the People's Voice. They put this up May 15th. It says that a resurfaced patent awarded to an elite biomedical research institution in New York City details technology that is described as, quote, enabling the remote control of cell function. The grant, which was awarded to the Rockefeller University in 2018, describes using tiny engineered particles called nanoparticles that can be directed towards specific types of cells, either from outside the cell or being placed inside it. This says the particles would heat up and activate temperature-sensitive channels within the targeted cells when exposed to radio waves. That heat would then trigger a biological response inside the cell, switching on certain genes or prompting the production of proteins. The Daily Mail reports that according to the patent, the technology could potentially be used to treat a wide range of diseases and disorders by remotely activating specific cellular functions inside the body. It says while the technology could potentially revolutionize healthcare, the patent has sparked fears and conspiracy theories online because of the university's historic ties to the influential Rockefeller family. The dynasty has long been the subject of claims alleging secretive influence over global politics, finance, and the creation of the New World Order. It says, however, there is no evidence that the technology was designed for mind control or population surveillance, and the patent describes potential medical applications aimed at treating disease by activating specific cellular response. And yeah, that ties into what I was talking about earlier with some of the digital pills that they have for people, where you'll just pop a pill and it'll release nanotech and it'll go inside you and it'll stimulate things, and then it'll just take care of you that way. This is a techno-optimist type thing to say, but it's also crazy to think that that's where we are now. Jumping briefly back over here to the thought of, the power of thought and things of this nature. This is just a quick post from the New Physics. It says a viral claim says that CERN simulations begin showing, quote, organized behavior that reacted to observation. And this is important because observation, awareness, consciousness, they're all one and the same. Quantum physics, right? The double slit experiment. It says modern quantum simulations can produce unexpected emergent patterns, highly structured behaviors that arise from simply underlying rules. This happens in quantum many-body systems, neural networks, cellular automata, condensed matter simulations, and self-organizing computational systems. And sometimes these patterns become so complex they almost look intentional. But there is currently no verified evidence that CERN created a consciousness simulation or discovered a, quote, parallel universe. What is fascinating is this. Physics keeps finding that order naturally emerges from complexity. The deeper the system becomes, the more reality starts looking computational, geometric, and information-based. That's why these stories spread so fast. They touch a real scientific mystery. At what point does pattern recognition become emergence, and how do we even recognize the difference? Yeah, it seems like this was clickbait. This was total clickbait. Sorry, guys, I wasted your time with clickbait. And for the final clip for this segment, before we hit a hard break, I'm going to play the trailer for another UFO documentary that's come out. This came out just a couple hours ago, honestly. It's for Altered Domains, and it talks about these UFOs coming through. And I thought that it was perfect and appropriate, given everything that we had discussed so far on the show, that our environment is being altered, and all of a sudden aliens are beginning to show up. Whether they're a super advanced form of life, whether they come from inside of the earth, whether they've been here with us since time immemorial, that's neither here nor there. They are showing themselves. They are coming upon the earth, and we are having to adjust to these new realities. So let's go ahead and play this quick trailer, and then we're going to hit a hard break after that.
In the book of Job, we read that the morning stars sang together. The sons of God shouted for joy when God was laying the foundations of planet Earth. There are many dominions, there are many realms, of which the earth is one. Angel, by the way, simply means messenger.
This white dove had just flown right over us. We look up, it goes completely white out, and then I'm inside the ship.
What you want to know is, first of all, who are they? What are their motivations?
Oh my God! Whoa.
It's been my own opinion that, in a sense, we're leaping into their world.
I can't talk too much about what we do out there just because I'm still doing it. It's brought more questions than answers, I would say, for sure. Just there's things that happen out there that are unexplainable. Why am I being exposed to this? Why am I seeing this?
We're not going to talk about it because who the fuck is going to believe us?
We've had these witnesses testify under oath. So we are in a post-disclosure world right now.
If we are on the verge of the technological singularity, these entities are in no way prepared to see us achieve parity with them.
The secret has its own power. It has its own momentum. It has its own reason to be. How deep does this whole thing really go? Are we saying they're walking among us?
Absolutely. I just got chills. Ooh, man, that's a good trailer. I got chills after. That wasn't Nick Redfern. Richard Dolan. After Richard Dolan said that, I got some chills. That's crazy. Because he's right, they are. And what's crazy is I went to sleep the other night listening to a 2015 interview with Dr. David Jacobs and Art Bell on on their old show, and it was just so crazy hearing these two titans talk about what it is and how long this whole alien phenomenon has been going on. The alien abduction phenomenon, the hybrid agenda, what some of these people are talking about, and how one of the messages that he was beginning to receive even back in 2015 that the people who were being, put under hypnotic regression were being told is you won't have to worry soon. We're all going to be together. So to hear Richard Dolan say that at the end of this trailer of Ultra Domains, saying that, are we talking about these entities being among us? Absolutely. I think they've been here. I think they've been operating for quite some time. One of the revelations I had just the other day, watching all of these videos about people talking about reptilians and shapeshifters, that I made a video on it too. I talked about it on our story. Our Instagram story, about how usually sexual activity is whenever these hybrid beings, they begin to glitch out. You can see through them. This makes me begin to think, are we dealing with like neo-Nephilim? Are we dealing with like hybrid beings? Do we have people, mingling with reptilians, mingling with aliens, mingling with Nordics, mingling with the Pleiadians? Do we have them already amongst us? I think we do. I think we absolutely do. But here's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to hit a hard break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the planned future. What's going on with Donald Trump, AI bots taking over. Yuval Noah Harari, lower value human capital. Candace Owens having Hunter Biden on, talking together. Representative Thomas Massie being unseated by Ed Gallrein, who seems like he's going to be a globalist Zionist shill. We're going to be talking about the planned future and so much more on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This is Freedom Faction over here on Factions of Freedom. And we'll be right back right after this.
The young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, half of this cabinet, are actually young noble leaders of the vertical reform. We penetrate the cabinets. The change is not just happening. The change can be shaped. by us. We have to prepare for a more angry world. How to prepare? Takes the necessary action to create a fairer world. I see the need for a great reset. So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had, and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
The next crisis is already waiting for us around the corner, and it is the climate crisis.
It's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable. We're going to be tested to the limits. What they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order. They're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said to me once, it said, this is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse.
There is no such thing as its freedom. There is no such thing as democracy. Please stop listening to the mainstream media. Please stop listening to the Western world speaking about United Nations, human rights. This is evil. Nonsense. They have enslaved the human race under the banner of human rights. I beg you, they have enslaved the human being under the banner of human rights. There is no freedom in the world. The world is placed in the bosom of Satan, the killer of mankind. A snake, the poisonous cobra. Satan likes to do things in disguise, in quietness, in the depth. But the Lord forced him to surface up. He wants humanity to see. He's opening the eyes of those who are willing to listen to Christ. Those who are willing to listen to Christ, He is opening your eyes. What has been happening in recent years, it is absolute satanic. But all done in the name of human rights, democracy, United Nation.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Like, straight up. If you've been watching the story, you've been paying attention to the page, you've been seeing what we're doing over here on this show, please just click this link wherever it is, somewhere over here in this little box area. It's a group chat. It's an Instagram group chat. I'm spending more time up over here. It would be nice to communicate with our existing audience. So go ahead and click that link wherever it is. And this is basically where I'm going to say, like, GM. I'll put articles before I post them here. Thoughts. Is basically just so I can communicate with the audience, man. That's really what it boils down to. Join the Freedom Factions Truth Seeker group chat. Come say what's up. It's not Discord, it's not Telegram, it's not Twitter group chat. It's Instagram, because it's where we are at. Later.